part in that same board. I got a little bit more done here. I started tracing out, as you can see here in the pencil, a layout for where the river's going to go, and basically this board's going to go over all the way like that, and then the idea being here so that hopefully I can, if I measured everything correctly, these are 3-inch squares, and I've got the beginning portion coming over 6 inches and then ending at 9 inches, and then I'm actually going to come out even probably an inch more that I may end up cutting out a little more freeform, but I'm probably going to keep this edge and this edge the same on both sides, so that if I spin this and I want this to be an edge piece so that this just, you know, runs off the long edge, or vice versa, this maybe just then could be a corner piece, or it actually could start in the middle and then another piece could join up over there on the side and then run off, let's say, more into the board and go off onto another piece and run more through the board if we wanted it to. But the whole idea here is, again, to cut down into the board so that we can see where the depth of this is going to go. And what I've done here is done some layout lines, and basically what you're seeing is the two vertical lines here and here, and the inner ones are that inner size, basically that 3-inch and 9-inch, and this is then these outer ones would be an inch over. So, and then I did 1/2-inch increments down just to kind of give me an overall depth gauge, because part of what I got to do is cut this out with my jigsaw, and I want to make sure that my blade doesn't go below. That's the deepest I absolutely want it to go. I'm trying to actually stay at about a 1/2 inch. And then the idea being to put stuff back is I'm then going to use what I cut out as a rough template, and then just use some scrap wood, probably some 1/2-inch stock, to start kind of basically stair-stepping pieces down till I get to the bottom here, and that'll give me some of my depth. And then if I want to, instead of it being just so like a stair, I can then fill it in with either wood putty, probably just drywall compound, and give it those textures and stuff. But that'll also give me layers where I can stick rocks in and stuff, and that'll actually give them a good holding place. But it will still look like I can still make it look like a natural slope. I can even, you know, sand off the corners and stuff and make things look more roundish. And then the bottom will be a water effect. I got a whole bunch of clear resin then that I'll pour along the bottom and give me an actual water feature, but this will actually have some depth, and I may even see if I can vary it so that's not all just one depth, that it actually kind of maybe comes up a 1/2 inch, drops down a 1/2 inch, just to kind of, again, this is kind of the test piece in the whole board, and what doesn't really end up working out, this is not a board that we're going to be too terribly concerned about on how it performs in the overall layout. So let me get to cutting here and we'll go from there. Okay, as you can see, I just finished out cutting out the board here. I wanted to spare you guys the noise of the jigsaw. It's deafening as it is with me sitting here. I didn't think you'd appreciate it on camera. So here we go. Trick is going to be trying to get this thing out without destroying things. There we go. Come on. If we can just get it over here. Just wants to be wedged in. There we go. Getting parts for the camera stuff, but there you go. You get the basic idea then with that cut out. And then idea being is now what I've also got here, because I cut it out in one continuous piece with a jigsaw, is I've got a template, and that's what I can then use to cut some hardboard underneath it so that it will then act as the actual bottom. And then I'm just going to then step up the layers so that as you look at it here now, so you can get an idea of the depth of the profile, and I'm probably going to go even deeper here and get this cut out. And I don't want to actually leave this a flat bottom. I haven't quite figured out how it'll be the best transition, but this might be where one of the areas where it rises up and then dips back down, kind of a thing. But the idea being here is then I'll probably go over, like I said, probably about an inch, and then stair step things down and that way it'll give me a little bit of a buildup, and then I can build something out of the bottom and then attach it, and that'll help also continue the rigidity of the board, which is another reason why I chose wood over foam. Now, the foam wasn't as much if I would have had it, I'd probably still be using it, but here in California, trying to find the blue or the pink foam is next to impossible. Our wonderful politicians in California decided for some reason that A, our climate doesn't warrant it, and B, there's some chemical in it that they don't like, so they decided to ban it. So finding it, unfortunately, is extremely difficult. So it's one of the big reasons why I'm going with wood, if you guys are wondering. But the other part of the reason why I'm also going with wood is, let's say after a while we decide that just don't like the whatever on this board, we can take a sandpaper, we can take a sandpaper to it and sand the top of it off, or scrape a lot of the upper material off and then just apply something else over the top of it and not really do a terrible amount of damage at the top of the board, because this top is actually cabinet grade plywood that we use. So that gives it some strength, but it also gives it some durability so that I can throw it around. And as I've showed you already, it's kind of stacked over here, and I don't got a ton of space in my garage, and this thing is going to get beaten up. So unfortunately, where the foam most likely could get dinged up and nicked up and corners ripped and torn, this is going to take quite a bit of beating. Plus, again, because of where we live, this will allow us to then throw it in the back of my buddy's truck, and we can even take the board places so that if we wanted to go someplace and play, the board can travel fairly well. And I'd say so far each board with this is, a couple pounds. It's not, overly heavy, but again, with the lip on it, it almost makes it easy to carry because you can just kind of grab them. You can even stack them together and then bungee cord them. And then what I'm going to do from an attachment standpoint is, again, on these sides, we're going to drill some holes in here, probably some elongated holes along in this area, and then this will allow us to bolt everything together with some probably some carriage bolts and some wing nuts, and then we'll give it enough play so that if we're not on a completely level surface, we can then jockey this up and down, make these boards all line up, and give us nice flush surfaces and a nice smooth gaming table to play on. So that's this portion. I got to go figure out now how I'm going to get the rest of the attachment underneath this, but here's that portion and more to come. Thanks, guys.